Hi everyone, welcome. Welcome to the second day of MAMFest. So excited to be here with you. My name is Chia-Ti. I go by pronouns she and her. And I want to take a moment to just acknowledge the native land that I'm on. This is unceded Lenape and Canarsie territories, also known now as Brooklyn, New York. And I'm Taiwanese American. I have long black hair that's pinned back, and I'm wearing bright red lipstick because I decided to get glammed up for y'all today. And I'm sitting on my couch with my comfy pillows behind me. So thank you so much again for being here. And today we are just going to do a quick, brief 20-minute somatics practice. So you might have heard of wellness, mindfulness. Somatics may or may not be a word that you're familiar with. The root of the word is soma, which relates to the body. So this somatic practice is how we relate to our internal landscape of our body, not like the muscles that we have on the outside, but really how do we sense into how we feel and the emotional state of our body. So we'll do some somatic practices so you can actually experience what I'm talking about. So the first thing I'll ask you to do is take a pause. You might be watching this live stream while eating, while typing, while texting. We are very good at multitasking. So if it's possible for you to take a pause, not if you're driving perhaps, but if you can take a pause and stop whatever else you're doing, just to take a moment to check in. And you can check in with the energy level of the body, just seeing how's my body feeling. You can even rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being like super energetic, 1 being pretty chill or very low energy. And it's not a judgment here. It's just, oh, this is how it is in this moment. And the one thing we can rely on, whether we want to or not, is things will change. So your energy level may change in the next minute. So just noticing in this moment, what's my energy level? And then notice how your body is shaped, whether you're standing, sitting, lying down, walking around. Just notice, how are you holding your body? For me, sometimes I hold my shoulders up to my ears, tensing my shoulders without even realizing I'm doing it. But that's usually when I'm feeling kind of like stressed or needing to make a decision or send a quick email out past the deadline. My shoulders tense up. So just notice for you, how are you holding your body? And is it possible to soften any place in the body? Maybe the jaw, maybe those shoulders, maybe the fingers. Notice if you are consciously or unconsciously gripping your toes. Our body reacts differently when we're feeling like in a flow or when we're feeling stressed. And sometimes when we're really busy or anxious or in a state of grief, the body constricts, the muscles constricts, the tissues, and also the energy of the body can constrict. And that shows up as tightness. So we're just exploring here what's happening in this body in this moment. And as you notice how you're holding your body, can you perhaps start to add a little bit of movement? Whatever movement it is, maybe wiggling of the fingers, shaking out of the jaw, any small or big movement, especially if you're carrying any tension, just to slowly, gently invite the tension to decrease with it. And then if you're moving the body, take a moment and pause. See if you can feel your feet on the ground if you're standing. Maybe if you're sitting or lying down, feeling your back or your seat touching against the surface. And this practice is a practice of grounding, when you can actually notice what place of your body is connected to the earth. I mentioned I live in Brooklyn. I live in an apartment on the 3rd floor. So with my feet on my floor, I don't necessarily feel like I'm connected to Mother Earth. But if I can pause for a moment and really feel my feet on the ground, maybe even imagine my feet going through the floorboards onto the earth or the grass, can you feel a sense of connectedness to something? Often when we're in a state of fight or flight, we feel disconnected because we're in kind of survival mode. We gotta just kind of do what we gotta do. But to help us be able to integrate our experience, Somatic Practices encourages us to get connected to the earth, to someone else, to ourselves. So in this moment, can you feel your feet, your seat, your back, your hands, something touching onto another surface? And then what I'll do is I'll introduce something called a somatic hold or soothing hold. So these are different places we can place our hands on our physical body and to hopefully feel a connection to the self. I don't know if you can hear this loud sound going through my space. It's a helicopter flying by, so excuse the noise. So I'll give you a few different options and choose the one that feels like it's the most connective. And if you don't physically want to place your hands on your body, that's totally fine. You can allow yourself to kind of hover your hands close to you so they don't necessarily have to touch. Okay, so the first one here, I'm placing my hands around my face. So a light hold on the cheeks or perhaps a little bit of space. Another option is to place one hand on the heart center and one hand on the forehead. Another option is to place one hand on the chest and one hand on the stomach. So really feeling that connection to the body, either physically touching or slightly hovering away. So one of those 3 hand holds, hand on the chest and hand on the stomach, hand on the chest and hand on the forehead, or perhaps cupping the face. And if there's a different hold you prefer, go ahead and do that. So this again is called a soothing somatic hold. The idea is when I place my hands in this caring, kind way, I signal to my body that I'm here. It might not be perfect. I might not show up for myself in the best way, but I'm here. Because often what happens with an experience, especially overwhelming or stressful experience, we tend to go into the head. We tend to try to think our way through things or ignore our emotions and just kind of barrel through. But the body is holding a lot of that experience. So doing this soothing hold can signal to the body that, again, I got you. I'm not trying to bypass. I'm not trying to ignore. So whichever soothing hold you have, you can choose to hold it still. Maybe you want to start to invite a little bit of rocking, a little bit of swaying, moving from side to side, moving forward and back. Whatever movement you're doing though, try to make it slow. We're not going for like, oh, I'm about to do a yoga stretch or do some cardio here. This is just a very small, subtle movement. Soothing hold, soothing rock. So if you imagine, if you're, ever been trying to soothe a crying baby, A lot of times we hold the baby and we rock the baby because the motion of moving from one side to another helps to regulate through our nervous system, helps our parasympathetic nervous system, the part of our nervous system that's responsible for us to stay grounded and centered, to not freak out in the body. That part of the nervous system starts to get strengthened by the soothing hold and the swaying. We'll be here for a few more moments. So notice again if you'd like to be in stillness, if you'd like to have the motion. And then notice if you'd like to add a little bit of sound. Maybe an exhale from the mouth. Maybe humming. Think of your favorite song and humming that song. And the mind might start to be like chattering, being like, why are you doing this? We don't have time for this. Got to keep it moving. Got to finish that laundry list of things that we have to do. But the idea of somatic practice is a way to connect back with yourself, check in, make sure you're all right for a moment or two. We can have the luxury here of a 20-minute practice, or sometimes have more luxury of going to, like, for example, a wellness class for an hour. But we're doing this soothing hold now for about 3 minutes. Soothing hold with rocking, with sound, just noticing. And it might not feel soothing. For whatever reason, it can make you feel more anxious, or it can make you feel like really irritated. Totally understand. So release the practice if it's not of benefit. I'm going to stay for about 10 seconds more. So if it is of benefit in whatever way, just kind of remembering what it is you're doing for yourself that helps you to feel more supported. And then once you're ready, slowly release, placing your hands down away from your body, maybe onto the chair, the ground, the lap. Just take a moment, again, noticing. I'll invite us into our next somatic practice, and this is called tapping. So this technique comes from a longer technique called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. You can Google it. There's lots of videos on YouTube that shows you the entire sequence of emotional freedom techniques, this tapping technique. Well, the idea is to tap on certain pressure points of the body that helps to soothe our nervous system. Again, we have two parts of the nervous system. One part helps us to stay active, to stay in the flow, but sometimes when it's overactivated, puts us into fight or flight. And the other part of our nervous system helps us to stay grounded and calm. When that's overactivated, it can make us feel depressed or lethargic. So the idea is to bring a balance into our nervous system. So we're in an optimal range of being activated and grounded. Not maybe at the same time, but also in a balance, in a cyclical balance. So I'll show you 4 different tapping points and pick one that works for you. And then we'll practice it for a full minute. The first point is here on the side of your pinky finger, and does not matter which hand that you're using. Okay, so you can do it either on the right hand or the left hand. So you can use 1 finger, 2 fingers, 4 fingers, and it's a slight tapping motion. Let me see if I can turn my hand so you can see it. It's in a tapping motion. Doesn't have to be a very hard pressure. It's not like you're giving yourself a massage here. Just a little tapping. Okay, this is option 1. Option 2 is on the cheekbone. So finding your cheekbone and a little bit of tapping. Now you might hear the sound of your fingers against the bone, so just be mindful of that. It may or may not be a pleasant sound for you. Third option is right here on the jawline. And again, you'll maybe hear the sound of your fingers against your jawbone. Remembering we're going to do this for about a minute, so you want to make sure that the minute doesn't feel like, unpleasant in whatever way. And then the fourth option is here, underneath the collarbone. So again, does not matter which one. Just a light tapping. Again, there are pressure points in all these four areas, where the hand is, where the cheekbone is, where the jaw is, and underneath the collarbone. These are all points that relate to anxiety and worry. So when we tap on these points, we're not actually stimulating anxiety and worry. These are pressure points to hopefully hold space for those, to release those, to acknowledge to the body, yeah, I'm stressed. Yeah, I have anxiety. Sometimes we pathologize ourselves. Like, I'm such an anxious person. There's something wrong with me. Everyone has different levels and amounts of anxiety, and we are who we are. So when we can befriend our anxiety, or at least acknowledge that it's there, then we can actually connect with ourselves a little bit more authentically. So picking the hand, the cheekbone, the jaw, or the collarbone, okay? Try not to go between all those. You have a chance, hopefully, to practice on your own. But for 1 full minute, we'll practice the tapping. For me, I actually prefer this point on my hand, so this is what I'm going for. And I'm timing us now. And breathe in a regular way, meaning you don't need to breathe in any particular or special way. Just allow your breath to be natural. And first, feeling the pressure of the fingers, make sure it's a pressure that feels like it's bearable. And if you are going through a lot of things right now, and let's face it, who of us are not in this global pandemic, you can repeat an affirmation to yourself. So something like, I recognize that I'm stressed, and I honor myself and my experience. Or whatever other affirmation you'd like. About 30 seconds left. Keep breathing. Keep connecting. And then slowly release the practice of tapping. Shake out your fingers, shake out your jaw, blink your eyes, whatever you'd like. And just take a moment to again pause. And notice how you feel. We'll go back to our first practice we did, which is kind of noting our energy level. And just noticing, is it the same? Is it different? We can use our somatic practices not to get somewhere with our energy level or to get rid of stress completely. But we can use somatic practices as an entry point into connecting to ourselves so that we can actually start to attune to what is it that my body needs? Can I hold space for these feelings and sensations within the body? I'll invite us to breathe together as a way to close. So I invite you to take a breath in through the nose or the mouth and take a breath out, either through the nose or the mouth. Taking another breath in and a breath out. And last one, breathing in and breathing out. And thank you so much for exploring somatic practices with me. My name again is Chia-Ti, and you can connect with me on Instagram if you like. It's right there on the bottom, One Love Wellness. And I hope you stay tuned for our Q&A that's about to come up. Thank you so much for participating in MemFest.
Yay. Hi there. Thank you so much, Cha, for leading us in this moment of pause and awareness that we all need during the day, even if it's not on the forefront of our minds. So thank you for that. And hello to everyone watching. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. My name is Bri Ng Schwartz, and I'm the manager of donor and community relations at Jack Arts in Clinton Hill, Brooklyn. And I'm also a contributing writer for Mixed Asian Media. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am joining you from Brooklyn, the occupied and unceded homeland of the Lenape and Canarsie people. I'm a mixed race woman with brown hair, brown eyes, and light skin, and I am streaming with a peach background behind me. And I'll be leading our Q&A with this lovely practitioner. So I guess my first question for you is, what/when was your entry point into somatic practice?
Well, I actually am primarily a yoga teacher. So I've been teaching yoga, mindfulness, and resilience building for the past 18 years. And my entry point into wellness was via divine guidance. So I was, before my life in wellness, I was performing poetry. And so I was performing in Taiwanese and English. And I thought, oh, you know what? Like, I'll go to China, learn Mandarin, come back to the US and perform in 3 languages. And it was just this feeling, like just from inside out. Like people are like, why are you going to China? I'm like, I have no idea. It's just something in me that's saying go. And this was in my early 20s when I was like, you know, bold, very bold and wanderlusty. And so I went. And that trip led me to India, where I lived for 6 months, and then got my yoga teacher certification. And from there, my path of wellness has really unfolded in front of me in such a way that I feel so grateful for.
That's great. And you mentioned being a practitioner of the arts as well. Would you say that that training and background informs your work now? And if so, how?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was performing poetry, and I also did theater and some dance. And I think any kind of creative art can get you in a flow state. And that flow state is like the most creative, not even aware of time, kind of like connected to the universe feeling. And I think that you can get a parallel sense of that feeling through wellness. The idea of connecting deeply to our bodies, deeply to our emotional states, so that we can get into that kind of flow. And I think that wellness can be considered an art. And in that art, we can be creative about how it is we can show up for ourselves in healing. Like it doesn't have to look like the colonizers' wellness, right? Like mindfulness, which is basically Buddhism stripped of its sacredness, brought to the US and in the West. So, you know, we want to be able to get creative about what is wellness like for me, even if it is for 10 seconds.
That's great. I think about, the times in which I personally didn't feel connected to my body, and that's when I was a teen. And in learning more about you, something that really struck me about your work was your embodied awareness for teens. And so I'm curious as to what your experience with some of these teens have been when they start your programs versus when they're done.
Yeah, so I teach young people who are court involved, so in detention centers and in alternate incarceration sites, also in suspension high schools in New York City. And so oftentimes this my program through this organization called the Lineage Project is brought in as an idea of like conflict management or anger management. So we kind of go in with through that, but really our lens and focus is through a trauma-informed and resilience-building lens. So it's more about how we can access our own inner strength to be able to heal and transform the experiences that we go through. Because like what I was talking about earlier in the session, we can go through something in life and it can affect us very deeply. So for example, I have lost a friend to COVID, and I was numbed out for 2 weeks, right? And that's just my body's natural protection. It's not saying that that's not a good thing. But if we stay in a numbed out state for years and years and years, it can really affect ourselves and our relationships with other people. So I think if we can learn these practices early, like if I think back on my teenage life and I was like, oh, wow, that was like a lot of drama. You're learning about your body. You're trying to become independent. Some of the young people I work with gone through severe trauma. So it's like, okay, if I had some resources to normalize my experience and to understand that wellness is actually um, necessary and integral to my experience. Like I teach in high school and they're like, learn math. And I'm like, how can you learn math if you're hungry? Right? How can you learn math if you are don't feel safe at home?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So all those things, right? And so when we can learn these practices early on in life, then we're like equipped to really be able to bolster ourselves and grow our own resilience. So that's why I especially love working with teens, because it's something that I kind of wish I had something like that when I was younger. And also, Bri, if I can just say, teens are so funny.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I love teen humor, and so like teens give me so much life, and I'm really blessed to work with the populations I do.
Yeah, that's incredible. And like you said it too, like I wish that I had had that practice for myself, or I had somebody to encourage me to do so at that age. So they're really lucky to have you. Yeah. So we're about to wrap up, but I guess I have so many questions, but if I'm going to end it on one note, I guess as we sort of re-enter society and enter our in-person hustles, what is one practice that we can all incorporate into our daily schedules every day that you think would be beneficial?
Um, I think pause, especially as we re-enter. I think that's another code name for like hustle and get busy, right? And so I think just take a pause. A pause, you can pause while you're walking. It doesn't mean full stop. I gotta stand like a statue, right? Take a pause. Check in with how you're feeling. Exhale a longer exhale. That phrase, sigh of relief, it means I'm taking a longer exhale, and that will support our parasympathetic nervous system. It doesn't take that long to help recalibrate the nervous system. So if we can pause, check in, exhale for a little bit longer, drink water, get sleep. I know you asked for one tip, but I'm thinking a few. And those are just small, revolutionary things that you can do for yourself.
I'll have to write that down and remind myself every day when I get up in the morning. But that's great. Chia-Ti, thank you so much for taking time out of your Thursday to do this. I know I'm very grateful and the MAM team is really grateful. So have a great rest of your day. But before we go, I know you have your Instagram plugged in your bio, but where else can we find you?
So if you want to learn more about me and the things I do, you can visit my website, also onelovewellness.com. You can get in touch with me over IG. You can find me on Facebook. I'm not the greatest on social media, just FYI, but y'all can help me get up there. And so, yeah, stay in touch by my website or Instagram.
Great. And you could all find me by my name on most platforms. That's Bri Ng Schwartz. And to plug my organization really quick, you can find us at jackny.org. All right, to anybody watching, have a great rest of your day and enjoy the rest of MAMFest.
Be well. Thanks, Bri.
Yeah, thank you.